myself now. So good evening, everyone. My name is Carol. I am so glad to be facilitating today. Today is the second, session of the series that we are having from the mental health group. And our topic today is self-awareness for postgraduate students and researchers. Like I said, it's session 2. And if you have been following us, you know that we are having 12 sessions in a span of a year. And the first session we had with Joyce, I am doing the second one, and the flyer is there. You should be able to see who's coming up next. So today, I'm very honored to be hosting this session. And we're going to talk about self-awareness. I am a psychotherapist and a parenting coach. I also teach at the university, so I do supervise a few students, but I have a lot to share with you regarding my journey as well as a student, and even post, having graduated. There's the journey is still the same. The challenges are still similar. I know there's a lot more pressure before, but there's definitely a lot more freedom once you have graduated. But the requirements are the same: to publish in order to grow, in order to be able to make those connections. And today is going to be a very practical session. So I hope you have a pen and paper or a notebook with you, because what I'm going to do is take you through a step-by-step exercise to help you and to equip you in your self-awareness. So let's get started. What is self-awareness? I think that that's one word that's become such a buzzword, and especially now that there's a lot that's being talked about with when it comes to mental health. And so it's very easy for us to be dismissive about self-awareness, and yet it's a very critical aspect of mental health. And so how I define self-awareness for me is that it's the ability to monitor our inner world, particularly our emotions and thoughts in the moment. And it's important for us to take note of in the moment, because many times we look at self-awareness as just knowing who am I, maybe my personality and something like that. But really, it goes beyond accumulating knowledge about yourself, which goes to a place where now you paying attention to yourself in the moment. And self-awareness is a really broad topic. I'm going to narrow it down to the in the moment aspect of self-awareness. How are you able to know what is going on with you in the moment? Because that eventually affects the outcomes of the decisions you make, how you behave, and even the quality of relationships that you have. And beyond just knowing what's going on in the moment, I would like us to be able to pay attention to our inner state with an open heart and without judgment. Many times, again, we have a level of self-awareness, but we're so critical about it, and it's more about beating ourselves up. And so I hope that by the time we end this session, you will be at a better place when it comes to your level of self-awareness and having some self-compassion towards yourself, and that's a word that I'm going to be using a lot. So self-awareness is important all the way back to the days of Socrates. He said, to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. And that is, there's also lots of research that tells us that people who have deeper levels of self-awareness are more confident, they're more creative, they're more decisive, they have healthy relationships, they communicate better, and when you look down that list, they're less likely to lie, cheat, and steal. I think that's a good quality to have. They're more productive workers and employers, and of course, as researchers, better psychological health, likely to be more compassionate, not only with others, but with themselves as well. And they tend to act consciously. That is, they tend to be more responsive as opposed to reactive. And I'm really going to focus on the last part, the responding versus reactive level of self-awareness. That is my goal today. At the end of this session, hopefully you'll be at a better place to ask yourself, do I respond Am I responsive or am I reactive? And I'm going to give you this practical tool that you can use to enhance your sense of self-awareness for better outcomes in this research journey. To guide us through this process, like I said, it's going to be a practical session, so I hope you have a pen and paper with you. And if you don't have, please grab something somewhere near you, so that, because it's really going to work better if you are going step by step alongside with me. So to guide us through this process, then we're going to use the Iceberg Principle. I hope you can hear me. I do not have any way of knowing if there's sound and if you can hear me, but hoping that we're doing good. So we'll use the Iceberg Principle, and probably many of you have heard about the Iceberg Principle. Basically, in business, we say success is the tip of the iceberg, meaning that what we see is the success at the tip, but really what is going on, there's a lot more going on. There's sleepless nights, there's broken relationships, there is, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, and that actually forms the 90%, what we actually do not see. So in psychology, we also use the Iceberg Principle, and this we have borrowed this heavily from Sigmund Freud. And Sigmund Freud says that, again, behavior is the tip of the iceberg. He talks about the fact that behavior has unconscious motives. The things that motivate behavior are below the surface. And for us to be able to understand behavior, we really need to figure out the 90%. It is a process, and I'm going to get you started in this process today. And keyword here being get you started, okay? Because it is a journey, it's an ongoing journey for each and every one of us. But to make it even more personal for us, I have come up with this model called the heart bag, which basically is, again, a version of the Iceberg Principle. And I use it a lot with the parents that I work with, because I use it so that they are able to understand what's going on with them in the moment as they're interacting with their children. And so I'm going to use it here because the principles are pretty much the same. They're relational principles. So basically, again, your reaction is the 10%. Your reaction to any event is only 10%. But below that is the 90%. And the 90% is basically the reason for the behavior. So, so what I would like you to do, if you have, I told you to have a pen and paper, I hope you do, but please try as much as possible to draw something close to this, if you can. If you are a creative and an artist, that's going to be easier. If you can do that. Jeremy, I can see you, Aurelia, and Oppo. I don't know who Oppo is, but thanks for being here. So here is my heart bag. And if you're able to draw, please draw this and make sure it has this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So the last space should be basically right on top of the center of the heart. And I use this to help people understand how many times when they are reacting to situations, they're reacting with their hearts upside down. This is how the heart should really look like. But most of the time, because of lack of self-awareness, this is how we actually interact with our with the people in our spaces. And this is something that we can use even as researchers and as scholars and as students. So I hope you have drawn this, because we are going to go step by step in this session. So what I want to do is to help you, to take you through a process and to give you a tool that helps you figure out what happens to you in the moment when you have encountered a situation that is uncomfortable, a situation that is frustrating, and we're going to start right away. So are you ready? I would like you to breathe in, hold, and breathe out. I hope you're doing this with me. I can't see you, so I hope this is going well. And you'll have this recording. You can still watch it and still follow later. But I'd really like you to track with me because it makes more sense. So what I'd like you to do is to think about a very specific event that happened in this journey of research. A very specific event. It could be recent, but or maybe not recent, but something that happened that left you having this sort of feelings. Made you feel angry, frustrated, devastated, discouraged. And as researchers, we go through, at various stages of our journey, we go through those spaces where we end up feeling this way. So I want you to think about an event. It may be recent, or maybe not, but it has stayed in your mind. A frustrating space, a space where you felt hopeless or discouraged. For example, maybe you've been waiting for feedback from your supervisor. You gave their supervisor, your project months ago, and when it comes back, it's 2 weeks to presentation, and it has all these red marks, and you do not know where to start. So that is as an example of an event. But then, beyond just thinking about the event, what I would really like you to think about is how did you react? So if you need to breathe in and out again, go ahead and do that. But it's very important that you track with me and let me know how exactly did you react? Because that's where we are going to start. How did you react? In mental health, we say that we encourage clients and we encourage people to be very specific about their feelings, about their actions, about their reactions, because what you don't acknowledge, you'll never be able to deal with. And so as much as possible, be as specific as you can and just write it down. I can see Mary there. Hi, Mary. So what I have is this. Again, remember, this is what we are working with. This is the hat bag. And so how you reacted, please write it up here. I have some examples here. Okay, let me just get to that slide that has examples. Did you go to sleep? Did you go just straight to bed because of the level of discouragement you felt? Or did you call a friend and vented? And what was the nature of your venting? How intense was it? Did you take it out on someone else? And this happens a lot. That's why I say mental health, please acknowledge it. Okay, because the only way you will be able to deal with it is by acknowledge. So if you took it out on someone, you projected it, you were angry, or someone paid for someone else's say, just write it. I think that it would be very helpful for you to be as honest as possible. Did you just shut down the computer and you've never opened it since? Let me tell you, for me, one of the ways of coping I have used to cope is sleeping. Okay, when I'm really, really low, the thing that I do, I just go straight to bed, or I go to my car and I put the seat back and I just close my eyes for a while, and that is one way I cope. But I don't know what your reaction was, but I would just like you to track with me and go with me as we do this, so that we figure out. So remember that your reaction was 10%. So whatever reaction that you had, please write it at the very top of this hat bag over here. So whatever the reaction is, whether it was passive, whether it was aggressive, what I'd like you to know is beneath that, there was a lot more going on. Okay, and we are talking about reactions that have led to negative outcomes. So let's not think so much that what I'm trying to give you today as a tool is to help you in those moments that you feel like you've been unable to cope. So if you dealt with that well, then maybe it's not the right one to put on this piece of paper. Think about one that ended up did not go well, so that we can be able to figure out where was all that coming from. So if you want to know what was beneath the reaction, actually beneath your reaction are usually your feelings. The reality with reactions is that we can never react a certain way if we have not felt a certain way. Okay, and that's part of now taking you through the process of beginning to become more self-aware in the moment. So every reaction is connected to a feeling. So I would like you to think about the feelings that you had. I've just brought back the ones that I had earlier. Did you feel angry? Did you feel frustrated? Did you feel devastated? You can go all the way. You can add others. Did you just feel a sense of hopelessness? And whatever feelings that you had, please write, because remember, guys, I said we cannot deal if we do not acknowledge. So you can write a few. And because of time, I'll take us through this very fast. We'll have an opportunity to redo this exercise, but I would like you to get started and go alongside with me. So do you want to know where the feelings came from? Now we're talking about what is beneath your reaction. Your feelings came from your thoughts. The reality is that every reaction that we have is connected to a set of feelings, and every feeling is connected to certain thoughts. And our thoughts are just actually how we interpret the events that happen to us. So the project comes back with 100% red marks on it. How do you interpret that? And it's a very personal process. For example, were your thoughts, this is a waste of time? If you think this is a waste of time, then you will feel frustrated. You cannot think this is a waste of time and feel, yay, I can do this, okay? And that's how we begin to start getting really aware of our reactions in the moment. Or my supervisor does not like me. So you feel a sense of resentment. Or I knew it, I knew this was happen. Then you become frustrated. So every thought is connected to a feeling. And the feeling is the one that causes you to react to a situation. If you have thought it's your fate in life, of course you'll feel hopeless, okay? And so there's all these thoughts, and just know that if you do not have these thoughts, you will not have the feelings, and you will not react the way you did. So if any of these thoughts connect with you, you can go ahead and write them down again on this piece of paper. So here we have our reaction, here we have our feelings, and then here on this other, the third one here. So 1, 2, 3. The third one here will be your thoughts. And your thoughts come from somewhere as well. Where do our thoughts come from? Our thoughts come from what I call core beliefs, okay? And our core beliefs are pretty much the operating system. So here, this is where our core beliefs will be. Okay, and I'm not going to put you to task to write your core beliefs right now, because the reality of this process is that as you keep going down, it gets harder and harder for you to even recognize what it is you're dealing with in the moment. But this should not stop you from starting this process, because the more you do this, the more you practice this, the more you build the muscle of self-awareness. So what are our core beliefs? Core beliefs are it's like an operating system. Okay, like the way Android is an operating system, Windows is another one, iOS for Apple. The reality is that we have operating systems that are already ingrained within us that we are not even aware of. And they determine how we react to events. They are ingrained in our system, and they're not easily retrievable because we may not even believe that we have them. In fact, if someone points it out and says, hey, you have a certain way you think about school, you'll be like, no, I love school, I love school and all that. But the reality is that we're not even aware of them until we allow ourselves the journey of consciousness and the journey of self-awareness. And some of these, I've just given an example here. We can have, and they are unconscious scripts. So you can imagine you are reading from something, but you're not even aware you're reading from it. So an unconscious script, you can have a core belief about life, for example. So if you believe life is hard and the world is hostile, and you receive a certain report from your supervisor, there is no way you're going to throw your hands in the air and say, yay, I will do this. If you believe life is hard, you will feel frustrated, you will have certain thoughts, this is not going to work, then you will feel frustrated, and then you will react a certain way. There are also beliefs, core beliefs we have about ourselves. For example, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm not smart, I'm a failure, or I'm unlucky. And again, it's an unconscious script. And I'll be honest, in my journey of self-awareness, I have actually discovered that one of my operating systems for a long time has been that I am not smart enough. And that has caused me a lot of exhaustion because I have had to go out of my way and extend myself and do so much just to prove to myself without even knowing that actually I think that I'm not smart enough. So I go out of my way, I over-prepare, I overwork, I try to prove myself. And so with that level of self-awareness, I am becoming more aware of that. And therefore, I'm able to separate and be like, okay, this is because there's a project that is due and that's why I'm working hard. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. So we also have core beliefs about women, core beliefs about men. And so if you have a male supervisor and you get a report like that, and if you think men are chauvinists, there's just a way you will react to that report that will be different when you believe, well, men are human beings and this is just, an isolated situation, and let me just take a look and see what it is that I need to do to work on this space. Belief systems about women, about success. If you believe success is all or nothing, and this is something that Joyce talked about in the last session. So if you haven't looked at Joyce's presentation, please have a look at it, because actually we are building up from that. And then we can have core beliefs about performance, that if I have to perform a certain way for me to consider myself good enough. So performance is equal to identity. So the tragedy of core beliefs is that we don't really get to know them, at the snap of a finger. And so this journey of self-awareness is to begin to help you begin that journey of just figuring that space out, so that when you get to the core beliefs, you start getting clearer and clearer the more you look at it. And where do the core beliefs come from? Our core beliefs come from issues in the past and issues in the present, okay? So if your teacher, when you were young, in primary school or whatever, especially those early years, your teacher or your parents treated you a certain way when you performed well or when you did not perform well, then you develop a core belief about yourself, about success, about school, and that still influences your thoughts and your feelings. So there's issues in the past that actually influence our core beliefs, but there's also issues in the present that also affect how you believe, your core beliefs about certain things. So we, again, may not get to that in this session. It's a journey, step by step, a journey of self-awareness that you can put yourself into, you can allow yourself to get into, so that you are clear about the issues in your past. There's also issues in your present that may determine your core beliefs. For example, if you're going through a difficult time financially, or relational issues, or maybe conflict at work, those also become issues that influence your core beliefs. And again, we will not be able to get into that. My whole point for this session was to just get you started on that journey by giving you these tools to ask yourself, to be able to ask yourself, do I react to events or do I respond to events? And when I talk about reacting or when I talk about events, I'm talking about negative events. And basically, the journey of self-awareness is pause, reflect, and then respond. For you to be able to get from reactivity to responding, pause, reflect, and respond. I'm almost coming to the end of the session, and what I just want to remind us what research has said about those who have a higher level or a deeper level of self-awareness. They are more confident, they're more creative. If you look at that list, Is that who you want? Is that who you are becoming as a researcher? Are you becoming more confident? Are you becoming more creative? Are you making more decisions that are more sound? Are you doing better in your relationships? Are you a better communicator? Are you less likely to lie, cheat, and steal? Are you more productive? Who are you becoming? And the process to you becoming these things, one of the most effective tools to get you there is to have a deeper level of self-awareness. I know we have many projects that we are undertaking right now, and that's why we're even in the journal club, but I would just like to remind you that the best project you will ever work on is yourself. So breathe in. I feel like I've really rushed through this. Please breathe out. And remember that what I have given you is just the start. It's something that will only get better when you practice. The goal is not to make you have a perfect level of self-awareness, but for me, practice makes permanent. It does not make perfect. So the goal is not to make you perfect at it, but the goal is to build your muscle of self-awareness. And this is one of the tools that can really help you in the journey of building your self-awareness. And hopefully that the more you do it, the more you practice, the better it will be. So way forward, this Saturday, we have one of our face-to-face meetings, being the third Saturday of the month. And what I'll do is I'm going to, when I'm sharing the link, I'll also share this. And we'll also share this so that we can use it. So we're going to go into groups of 3 during our session. And what we will do is we will walk through the heart bag. Okay? So today I rushed through it. I've given you an opportunity to look at it, but then I'll share this with you so that you can walk through the heart bag. You start from thinking about an event, a recent event or a past event that left you feeling a certain way negatively, and then we will work it down all the way. We will not get to the very bottom of the past and present event, but what I'd like us to get to is actually our core beliefs. And the question that I would like us to answer during our session is, what core beliefs do I hold about myself? What core beliefs do I hold about success? Trust me, researchers, scholars, students, the core beliefs you hold about yourself when it comes to success, when it comes to yourself, are influencing how you are performing today, are influencing the decisions you're making in your projects. And so it's important for us to get to the bottom of that. So I'm going to figure out how to unmute you all so that now I can hear your feedback, I can get your feedback and I can hear you. And let us see, unmute. Okay, I'm not very sure how to do this, but I'll get there. Participant, unmute all. All right.
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for the presentation. I have never heard of Heartbag. It was my first time to hear about Heartbag.
Yes.
And I wanted to know, have you registered it as a trademark concept? How did you come up with this concept, Heartbag?
Heartbag. Well, it came to me when I was preparing for the parenting program. It's in the process of registration. In fact, I keep bugging my lawyer to give me the paperwork because to give me, the final document. But it came to me, yeah, it came to me when I was preparing for the parenting program and just figuring out how can I really get parents to be very personal about how they are interacting with their children. So it really is an iceberg, but in form of a heart. And the question we are asking is, what is going on in your heart as you're interacting with your children?
Right. So I loved the presentation. The timing was good. You did not rush. I got everything. I really thank you for the talk.
Thank you, Joyce. I appreciate your feedback so much. I'm trying to, okay, I've unmuted everyone, I think.
Yes.
Thank you, Joyce.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Carol.
Hi, Mary.
Thank you so much. I was a few minutes late, but I really appreciate the talk. It's good.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks for coming. It's my first time I'm doing
Yes.
Zoom, so it's exciting to do this and to interact and to get feedback. So thanks, Mary.
Okay.
So any questions? Uh-huh.
Hi, Carol. It's
Hi.
Ida here.
Hi, Ida.
Yeah, the presentation was very, very good, very educative, very informative.
Thank you.
We really, really appreciate. Yeah, I just wanted to know when it comes to dealing with our emotions, is it a straightforward thing? Is it a continuum, or is there a chance that you can go successfully and then next time you're going backwards? Is that normal, or it's the way of life?
It's a really good question, and I'm glad Mary and Joyce are here. They will help me answer that. But the reality of dealing with life issues is that it can never be as straightforward. And one of the things that I really encourage my clients to do is to have compassion for themselves. For me, self-compassion is a really huge part of what I do with clients, because you can feel like you have made so many steps forward, and then now something happens and it triggers something else that you are not even aware of, and it feels like you have to start the journey all over again. So it is not a straightforward, and the best gift you can ever give yourself is self-compassion. I don't know if there's anything else Mary or Joyce would want to add.
Yeah, maybe I can add that a lot of times our feelings may just auto-generate themselves, but a lot of times, more times, they are dependent on our thoughts. So if we improve our thoughts, and this is something most people take for granted, you can actually learn how to think properly so that you improve how you're feeling. So, yeah.
Actually, it's learnable. You're right. It is learnable. But because feelings are so big and overwhelming, it's so easy to just be like, no, this is too much. I don't even have the strength and the energy to think. But like I said earlier, that practice makes permanent. So the more you do it, the more you find yourself having better outcomes in your thought processes, and therefore in your feelings, and finally how you react to things. Thank you for that, Julie.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add that about the continuum, it's true that our emotions are on a continuum in terms of intensity. So it also, and that also, of course, depends on how extreme the thoughts we are having are. If we are having very extreme thoughts, I am no good, I can never actually complete this research, what am I doing this for? Then we'll also have very intense emotions. But if we are able to change those thoughts to be a little less intense and very negative, then also our feelings start to get milder, and then we don't feel so bad. Yeah.
The power of positive thinking.
Yes.
When it's something that keeps coming back and you find that it's a cycle, then it really is time to go for therapy. There's absolutely nothing wrong going for therapy. Help you to figure out, especially the issues here in your past. They have a lot to do with where you're at, and so it makes a big difference if you're able to just go through therapy or go through a process that helps you figure out that.
Yeah, also, I liked how you took us stepwise, because really beneath the thoughts are the core beliefs, those are more stable. So those ones are usually, there, and we don't know about them. So thank you for bringing that aspect.
Thank you. So it makes it more real when you realize that I can't just change my thoughts. Sometimes when you're just told, just change your thoughts, just speak positive. Sometimes, in many cases, it's not easy because there's already a system, a template that has been put because of your past experiences, your present experiences. Anything else? I don't even know much more time we have.
About 4 more minutes.
4 more minutes. Any other questions? I can see there's quite a number of us here. I'll be happy to share this. I think I need to leave it on for a while for it to keep recording. And then I will share this together with the heart bar. And
yeah, could you unmute Aurelia?
Did I mute Aurelia?
Yeah, she's typing on the chat that she's muted. If you can unmute Aurelia. Yeah.
Let me see how to do that. I'm okay there.
Okay.
You're unmuted, Aurelia.
Good.
Okay, all right. And where is the chat? This has been
the chat is
yeah?
Yeah, the little round thing that looks like a text message, a bubble. That's the chat. You'll see it at the bottom.
At the bottom.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I do not see
it. Okay.
It's chat. Oh yeah, I've seen it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
People are talking on the chat. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming today. I can, now I can read. And this was my debut Zoom session. Thank you, Aurelia, for this platform and for this opportunity. This is very exciting. And I'm sure we'll continue having these conversations as we go, and the link will be available.